Good afternoon, US. Good evening, UK. Hope everyone's well. And how you doing, Lois?
I'm doing absolutely well, Jacqueline. How's yourself? Nice to meet you, Sam.
Fine,
Hi,
thank
good
you.
evening.
Oh, yeah.
And tonight's guest is Sam Pirt, psychic medium. How are you then?
I'm doing well, very well. Thank you for inviting me on. Lovely to see you both.
Oh, it's lovely for you to be a guest.
Yeah, definitely.
Since I do speak to you quite a bit anyway, because I actually take lessons from Sam at the moment. So Sam's helping me to develop.
You're doing very well.
It's getting quite interesting.
Yeah.
And rather out of my comfort zone, to be quite fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, where I have to do readings for people I've never met in my life, and yeah, like all of a sudden they're in front of you. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, Sam, where did all this start for you? Because you're a medium. Have you always been a medium?
I think, to be honest, I was always set out to be a medium. It was always like I was meant to do this in my life almost. It's hard to explain, but it was just something that was meant to be. And for me, I wasn't one of these people that saw loads of ghosts in my bed when I was small or anything like that. For me, it was more the sort of thing that when things sort of settled down and when things sort of came to be the right places, so I was a professional musician and I had that going on. I had a house and everything, and things just had sort of settled down for me. That I was like, right, so what is this all about, you know? And I was like, I want to find what this is all about, because I'd always had an interest in the paranormal and spirit, but never had the opportunity, because I'm dyslexic and I was always behind at school and stuff. I only had time when I was younger for like school and music, and I play the piano and accordion. I didn't have much more time for anything else, which is part of the reason why I think it waited till when it was the right time for me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I came to this point in my life where I was like, right, what is this all about? I happened to have some Most Haunted DVDs. Of course, I was interested in that, watching all of that. And I was like, well, it's really, really interesting. And isn't it interesting what that medium is doing? Isn't this really interesting? But, because I'm very logical and grounded, but they're going to want to sell those DVDs. They're going to want to sell it. So I want my own proof. I want my own evidence. I want to go out there and see if this is for real. What's it all about, you know? So I went with a very open mind and a very, just wanted to find out what it was all about. So my very first experience, I was actually teaching someone, a good friend of mine called Andrea, who was teaching accordion at the time. And I said, Andrea, do you fancy going on a paranormal investigation? And she said, go on then. And that was it. We went to RAF Homerton. And then when we went to RAF Homerton, I was just walking around and I was like, well, there's a man over there and there's a woman over here. And I'm aware this man stood there. And the medium that night was like, have you ever thought of becoming a medium? It's like, not entirely, but it just sounded really interesting. And it's so following that, I sat at circles and I sat and developed from there, really. But my first sort of experience of spirit, you could say, I think I felt them around before then, but I think that I didn't really reference them fully until like after this RAF Homerton, you know, where it was like became far more real, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my first experience.
It's something a bit strange today. We're getting strange voices through again.
All right.
After last week, anyone who watched last week, it's really strange that we were getting strange voices, and it wasn't always my voice repeating. And it's I don't know what's going on at the moment. Hi, Lynn, as well.
It's been happening for a wee while now.
I suspect it's spirit.
Yeah, so it's quite unusual, but yeah, this paranormal side is amazing, though, isn't it? It's just.
The thing that I really love, because I'm a huge lover of history, and I'm a huge lover of like people, and to me, that the paranormal is like that beautiful blend of the both. You know, you get to go into these wonderful, beautiful old buildings, out of the tourism hours, get into places that the tourists can't get to, and then you get to just a small group, and not only that, but connect us people that used to live in those places, that used to go to those places, that used to, be in those places. And I think it's just, I really enjoy it, and it's quite exciting as well, because it's often really, the darkness and everything like that. It's quite exciting and all that.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. That I absolutely love when me and Nick Millay were talking, and the team were talking about this on Friday. What I classify as Blair Witch weather.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. You just the feeling and the sensation. And
Yeah.
as I've always said with paranormal investigation, just spending time in a building that has history is, priceless. You couldn't buy it anywhere.
That's right, yeah. And it's all about paranormal investigation. For me, is all about connecting to spirit. It's all about connecting to the buildings. It's so often I think people forget that actually paranormal investigation is all about actually connecting to the buildings, and by connecting to the buildings, you're connecting to the spirits. I know that we've had great results when we've commented on the buildings. And we've gone, wow, isn't that amazing? Spirits then done something, because they're referencing you liking the place that they love as well,
Well, that's right. If it was their home and they spent time like decorating, doing it up, living there, we don't actually know how they see it now. They may see it how it was. So by you saying, oh, wow, that's beautiful, they might be looking at some work that they've done on that.
That's right, yeah.
So they kind of think that you're seeing the same thing as them. We don't know.
We had an instance at the Grand Opera House in York, where we were on a balcony and we were commenting about the beautiful architecture and the scrolls at the top of the pillars and all this stuff. We were looking at the real details of the theatre, and then we went out of that balcony, and then we were filming it at the time as well. We've got a video of it somewhere. We went out of this door. When we went out the door, you could hear a voice of a woman singing, and we actually were able to identify the song that she was singing. And then we went back into a higher balcony, at which point I sensed spirit over the other side of the balcony. I said, there's a spirit over there, and asked for a sign from them, at which point there's a massive slam of a door and footsteps on the balcony. And I think what stemmed that was the fact, in part, that we just said, this is a beautiful theatre we absolutely love. And I think they just responded to that,
Yeah, that's right. And I used to go to investigations. I'd watch Most Haunted, and then you start going to a few, and it is about being in the building. I wasn't even into history that much then. I didn't. Oh gosh, sorry, my history teacher's boring. What can you do? Very often they'll just go on and on and on, and they're reading from a book, and they don't bring anything to life, do they? Some history teachers.
No,
I was actually quite lucky with mine, because mine taught my dad. That's how long he'd been in the school.
Oh my gosh!
And he was he really made it dead fun, because I never thought I would like history, but I really loved it. It was one of the subjects that I really loved.
One interesting thing though that I have to sort of say about that, you talk about seeing these things in books and stuff like that, but actually what I've noticed, what I'm also able to do, is I can look at a photo of a building and sense what spirits are around that building in the areas. And because what we have to remember is that everything is energy. So spirits don't have to be held back by the fact that you aren't even at the place. Paranormal investigations can start way before you even get there. And the more in the flow of the energy you get, the more you'll actually realise that you might well be getting signs from spirit before you arrive, And it's really important to look out for these things,
I'm actually so glad that you said that, Sam, because it brings me to the fair point of, there's a lot of skeptics and there's a lot of people in the paranormal will turn around and say, I mean, myself, I've seen pictures, and I've, like yourself, I've seen stuff and things like that before we've even got there. And you get a lot of criticism in the paranormal, I'm sure, Sam, that you'll understand, and you'll say it yourself, is people will say to you, well, how do you send stuff for a picture? But as you say, energy, everything is energy.
Don't forget, that picture is a moment in time, right? and just like a picture of a family, just like it's kind of psychometry in a way almost.
Yeah.
But for some reason, for me, it's more than just psychometry, okay? Psychometry is when you touch something and you feel the energy of it. But when you're seeing a picture of something, it almost becomes almost a remote viewing, come tuning in, connecting to that place itself. That's what it is. What you have to remember is that I believe when those things are happening, when you look at a picture of a place and you go, I'm really sensing this woman in the top bedroom. I just need to say the top bedroom. I don't know why, but I just need to say the top bedroom. And so what's happening there? So basically, what's happening is you're connecting your energy with the energy of that place. But what I have to remember is that when you're connecting your energy with the energy of that place, there is no distance between you and that place. The only space that appears is the physical distance. But the physical distance doesn't exist in spirit and in energy.
That's it. Have you tried remote viewing and things like that?
I've done kind of a bit of it by accident when I was Reiki attuned. When I had my second Reiki attunement, I kind of floated out of my body and looked up from the corner of the room down.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of happened by accident. So I have done remote viewing, but it's not something I'm a specialist in. But
yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that go on when we connect with spirit that we aren't aware of all the subtle levels of it, if you like.
Yeah.
There's a mix of a lot of things because you will sometimes get these images in from buildings you've never been in before. So what's happening there then? Where are you getting that from? Are you getting that from like a remote viewing aspect? Or are you getting it from the soul of the spirit that was in that place, projecting that and giving that into your mind? It's so interesting, you know?
Yeah, that's it. I find that spirits sometimes stop me sleeping. I can have like specifically on a Wednesday or a Thursday. You know, when you do need sleep, you sort of have a sleepless night, so that by the time it's like Friday night or Saturday night investigation, you're so shattered.
Yeah,
and I don't think they deliberately do it that way, and it depends on the location, really.
Yeah, it sometimes depends on location. Sometimes it depends on the like what you've been doing that day before. But my advice is, if you are having problems sleeping like that, just visualize white light raining down onto you while you're sleeping. And that will almost like be so relaxing. The white light of love and light just completely raining down on you like this beautiful sunshine almost, you know? And it almost becomes so like relaxing that it will kind of wash away any kind of like distractions you might be having. So if you do have trouble getting to sleep, because I've had that problem getting to sleep occasionally, I've used this technique. It's a real simple technique, so give that a try maybe, you know?
Yeah, probably worth it because I don't know, it's sort of specific places really. And I don't know, a few nights before it's just like they don't want you to sleep, probably so that you're weaker when you get there.
Yeah. So use your spiritual, these things can help us too, you know?
Yeah.
You want to be like as on top form as you can be, you know?
Yeah, because there are some who are just waiting for you, aren't they? They're waiting to use you as a puppet in a way.
Yeah, they're waiting to communicate with you and stuff like that. They're waiting to connect to you and give you their messages. They might be quite like, they might have an important message to give, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say when that's happening, by just visualizing and staying in that white light, it almost like takes your attention off that thing that's not letting you sleep, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So you've investigated around York quite a lot, which is the most amazing place in York you've investigated.
Actually, I've invested a few places around York, but actually I've actually been investigating for lots of years now. I've been doing this for about 15 years or so now.
Yeah.
And so I've gone to loads of places, actually. I would say one of my favourite places, actually, is the place I started at, RAF Hompton, that's near Bridlington area.
Okay.
And I don't think it's available for paranormal investigations anymore. But it's an incredible secret underground bunker that has signposts to tell you where it is.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah, that's secret.
Yeah. But the reason why it's one of my favourite places is that because it's all underground, you can lock it all off. And when that door shuts, there is no one that can enter. There's no outside noise. There's You can't hear the floors either. So it's entirely in terms of like controlling the environment. It's a really good place for having a controlled environment, which gets rid of any debunking possibilities often of what you're hearing, you know.
That's
And I've just had so many things happening, from stores staying shut that I couldn't open doors. I've had a spirit's energy almost come into my hand. So when I moved my hand towards an EMF meter, it went off, and then I moved it away and it stopped. I moved it.
Wow.
I've seen black shadows. I've heard footsteps. I've heard people on telephones. I had loads. It's really active, you know, of so many different energies, you know. It's well worth a visit anyway as a museum. It's vast. It's a huge place, you know.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So that's actually one of my favourite places. But I've just been to loads and loads of places, really. To me, a lot of people get steered into like the grandeur of a place and stuff like that, and they think that they've not done paranormal investigations until they've been to this particular venue. But in reality, spirit actually is all around us, you know. It doesn't matter the grandeur of a place as to whether spirit's going to connect to you. In fact, you're more likely to get a good connection in just a regular house, you know. And I think that a lot of people think you have to go to these particular places like the Chillingham castles and stuff like that, you know, to get something. But it's really not the case, you know. I've had just amazing connections with spirit and stuff just in our little studio here, with stuff that, you know, bringing evidence forward that really can't be explained any other way, you know. I think it's just beautiful. So don't be, with those paranormal investigators out there, it's not all about the venue, it's about the connection. Don't forget.
That's right,
So you don't have to be even in a venue to get a connection. You can be just walking around and you can connect to a spirit around, you know. You have to have an open mind and be creative, I think, with our investigating, you know.
Well, that's it, because we don't know the history. And I do share on the page, the group, like places like find gold coins in a field, or find this underground, or like Richard III was found in a car park.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and you just don't know what's underneath your feet.
No.
You've also got your family, you've got your loved ones around you. You've got people's loved ones walking by you wherever you are. So spirit all around you. So it's, you can pick up, you know, that famous ghost in that location, or I don't even know if that one exists, you know. You know, the monk or something, you know, you don't know. But and also maybe if they pick something up, they'll just assume it's a monk because that's what they expect to see there.
Exactly.
But there is spirit everywhere. I'm going to turn this into a question. It's not. A quick hello to Robin and everyone. Hi, Bridal, Von Hunter, Francesco.
Hi, Bri. Everyone.
Locke and everyone, really. Thanks for joining us. Nikki Lovett. She says she tries to connect with Gran at home but get nothing, and it is hard to connect with your own loved ones, isn't it? But what do you suggest she does?
What I would say is, first of all, know that your Gran is around you to begin with, but I would say don't worry about the fact that you're not getting anything. I always say sometimes it's not a case of that spirit's ready to connect with us. Sometimes it's whether we're ready for spirit to connect with us, the other way around, you know. Sometimes we think, is spirit ready to come and connect? But actually, are we ready to connect to spirit as well, you know? So we need to think, it works both ways, you know? And what you have to think is, maybe you've not got anything right now, but maybe there's a lot going on in your life at the moment. And maybe there just isn't, just now is not the right time at the moment, you know? Maybe there's something else you have to do and fix or sort. And I would say that the very fact she's saying I can feel her around me all the time. So that actually is that validation. So she is around you. She's already telling you she's around you. So recognize by the very fact that you can feel her around you as almost a message from her in itself, you know. And she doesn't necessarily need to get on the phone and talk to you to say that she's with you. Sometimes we just need to feel her presence, and that's all I want to do. Because you don't know that person might not want to make you a little bit surprised or shocked that you get something. It might be, she doesn't want to scare you or something. She just is maybe being gentle with her contact, if you know what I mean. The spirit is always there to give us that love and that connection of love. So I would say take comfort in the fact that you can feel her around you, and when you're ready to get more than that, she'll certainly give you that,
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, she's around you. Yeah,
that's great. I've got a question here from Andy as well. So what's your favourite type of venue then?
That's an interesting question. One that's got a real lovely spirit that wants to tell me their life story. Really, I suppose, because when you have you go into a place where all of the people that work there are shy and that they don't really want to come forward much, you can't make spirit do anything, in terms of that. The way it works with spirit is I give what I get and stay true to spirit. That's how I work. So if I don't get anything, I ain't giving you anything, It's going to be a long night, That's just the way it is, And so for me, that my favorite type of venue is a venue where the spirits there perhaps maybe understand what mediumship is about, know that they can communicate, and know that I can get my message through. But in reality, it really doesn't matter on the venue, because people bring along their loved ones, right? And if there's a loved one desperate to get their message through, they will get it through, whether that is through me or through one of the boards or whatever, So for me, a venue is just a physical thing. I'm not really scared by the physical things. Even we could have a modern house built on ancient land. What does that mean? It means that we're actually on ancient land, layers of history. So it might look like a modern, semi-detached house, but it's anything but. So I'm all about my work as a medium is definitely about losing that attachment not losing it, but letting go of that attachment of our physical grasping, And sometimes even the grasping to a venue can almost put expectations into your mind of like, right, this is going to be fab then,
Yeah.
We've got this old castle, this is going to be great, this is. Well, it just might not be for whatever reason. And then you might just get a little, I don't know, you might have a big, huge castle, and then you might have a bus station or something, Actually, you might end up having the best amazing contact with a bus driver at the bus station than any old knight that was in the castle, So you just can't make those opinions, really. You just have to go in with an open mind. Don't let the venue be a barrier to you, almost.
Yeah.
In that, and I get that question. I understand why I asked the question, and it's a good question as well.
Yeah.
But my response is, I'm not really bothered. I'm just going to connect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening to you, Sam, you can tell you're not in it for like the fame or that. You're very, very passionate. You're really, and I think to be a medium, you have to be really, really passionate. And the way that you just like listening to you, Sam, you can just tell it rips out. Yeah, absolutely, it has that shine.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I just kind of do what I do, really, and I do it out of love and light. That's why I do it,
Definitely.
And I think that mediumship isn't easy to do, and the reason why I say that isn't to look good or anything like that. It's actually not to do with the mechanics at all. The mechanics actually are relatively straightforward, I believe, but it's actually the hardest thing in mediumship is that we have to let go of ourselves. Right, as a person, and the trouble is to do that you have to go through that self-acceptance, that self-development, if you like, and that's such an important aspect of mediumship. That's actually the difficult bit of it, and that's the challenging bit of it. Learning the mechanics and all that is the mechanics, and you learn that. And you learn to work with it and everything and get more experienced and familiar. But in actual fact, I believe it's the personal development that's the real challenge of being able to end up in that right point to do mediumship. Because there's many people I've taught that have been in the right place and then they've left that right place, And then there's people that have found it and stayed there. And so it's a very, and part of the reason why I'm able to do it is because I definitely went through that self-acceptance, that ability to be proud of who I am, and I think that's a big part of it,
Do you think a lot of mediums have been through a really bad patch in their life, which then makes them on a different level?
I think everyone's been through their life story and their history, I think it's really, you can't really say everyone's been through a bad patch necessarily, but everyone's had stuff to deal with. Everyone's had stuff to deal with it for them, What I have to deal with is different from what you have to deal with. That's because I'm me and you're you.
Yeah, that's right.
But both of what we've got to deal with is no better or worse than each other. We just have different things, So I think you can't really say necessarily it's bad things that they've had to deal with. I think there's some mediums that have had bad, challenging patches, but that's almost, in some cases, what's brought them to the mediumship.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at more. Because I hit loss with the family, and that I think mediumship found me just before I lost my mum.
Yeah.
And it came to me then, probably when I needed it, basically. And before that, I didn't think about it. And I know somebody watching had a similar, sort of experience where it came after they've been through quite a bit.
It's very common. It's certainly very common that people have big life events and major losses or something that bring them to it, because naturally you're searching for answers and what is that all about, and there has to be more or something, so you start asking these questions. But I actually believe every medium has to go through some form of self-development and acceptance, and that being able to fully accept them for what they've been through and accept the situation almost as well, to the point of being able to let it go, not deny any of it at all. And it's not pushing it to the side at all. It's staring it in the face and letting it dissolve into your heart is what it is,
Yeah.
That's what it's about, staring whatever situation that is, be it a loss or be it a self-acceptance or whatever it is, and dissolving that into your heart. And only when it's dissolving into your heart, you'll then be in the right place to really move forward with it. But also, when we do start to develop a mediumship, we're already actually, because it's a spiritual practice, we are developing spiritually. And as you develop spiritually, you learn coping ways to deal with what you've been through. So it's a balance of learning ways to cope with what you've been through, as well as accepting it and letting it go at the same time, simultaneously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Got an interesting question here from Andy then.
Yeah.
Have you done a reading of or for someone else at the same venue as you?
I'm not sort of a full-on one-to-one reading, because they're like 20 minutes, half an hour, but I have actually delivered a message from a loved one to someone at a venue who came through. They were doing a human pendulum, and then spirit connected to me as well. And the full message wasn't delivered on the human pendulum, so I knew that I had to give this person the full message that I got. So I took him to the side and said, listen, I've got this message. I know we just connected to your loved one in there, but I also have this message that he wanted to say. It was a very specific message, and it completely related to what was going on in their life at that time. And so there was an interesting thing there, really. And so that's I have given a message like that before, yeah.
Oh, bless you.
I'm usually quite careful with my mediumship in that sense, because people coming for a paranormal investigation haven't necessarily come for a one-to-one reading, but if their loved one does come through, I will try and I'll ask them if they want that message, and I'll ask them, listen, I am aware of this, I need to give you that, can you take that, but I wouldn't, you just have to be aware of where I think. I'm a great one for personal responsibility, and so I'll be very careful that I don't just go into the supermarket and go, I've got your great auntie with me.
Oh,
gosh. Because you've got to be so careful, it can actually create potentially so much damage. because you don't know what relationship they had, the great auntie to this person, you know.
That's right.
And that's why it's not simply going, oh, I've got your great aunt. That's not why I do it. I do it for healing. And so I'm very aware in that sense of when it's right to share that message. And I'll only share it. If it isn't a reading, I'll only share that message if it feels right to share it and I've got the right situation, if you like, to share it in that's suitable, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, get it.
And says it's great you helped a person receive the message. I'd
Yeah.
love to do that for someone.
Yeah.
We were doing table tipping on Saturday, and all of a sudden I got somebody's name, and I thought, well, I don't want to go down that route, so I
Yeah.
sort of asked them to ask questions on the table. So I gave them the chance to ask questions because, you know, their loved one did come through, and it's like, because I didn't, you know, the name just came out, and it's like, oh no, I'm not, you know.
Well, what I would do in that situation is that actually you're in a quite a fortunate position. If you don't want to give that as a, listen, I've got this name, come to me. What you could do is just channel that onto the board. So have we got Doris with us, you know?
Yeah, it was. I did that.
And then because if you channel it onto the table, then what you'll find is that actually you were right exactly with what you got, that you got a spirit from one of the people on the table. But because they'll be doing the glass, they're actually involved in that message then.
That's right,
and it's okay for you to take a lead on the questions just for that moment to get that connection, to confirm who it is that is connected to this person on the table. And then you're right, what questions have you got? What a beautiful way to channel that. So I would say, don't necessarily always shy away from it, but channel it in that situation in a way that's going to be good for that group, you know. So channel it onto the board. Ask that question: have we got a Doris with us? And no doubt you'll probably go to yes, you know.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Around the table, yes. Could you move the glass to who we're connected to? There you go. That's the connection.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to ask the questions? You know. So that's what I would do. You know.
It's only like 5 of us in the cell, 4 on table tipping. You know.
But the thing is that what it's enabling you to do is the spirit's obviously trying to communicate something to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have got the name, you see.
That's right.
When you get that name in, try and not just to sit on it. And if you have got an opportunity to sort of explore that message, like you do in the boards, you know, then open it up like that, perhaps, you know. And you're opening up in a way that's very, actually really healing, because then the person who the message is for is also on the board.
Yeah.
You know, or around the board, just watching it or whatever, you know. So, yeah, interesting though.
You okay, Lois?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm fine. I was just thinking, Bryce stole my thunder with his question, so I was sitting there racking my brain for another question.
Oh, right, yeah. Do you believe charging for your gift?
So I do charge for my mediumship, and part of the reason why I do charge is because if I didn't, you wouldn't have me here tonight. I would be dead on the floor, because I would have people constantly contacting me for messages, you know. Having said that, I still, from the moment I open my page, I've always done free live stream readings, and I still do. And I've continued that all the way through lockdown, and I still do it right to this day. I give free single card readings to people, as well as have free evenings on my page with mediumship.
Yeah.
So I do give lots of free readings away, but they're often more briefer and smaller readings. But if people want a bigger, like half an hour or an hour, obviously that takes an hour out of my day and takes me away from my husband. And so, and it takes an energy to do a reading. You don't just go up and just, I'm just going to do a reading.
Oh, no.
It's not, you prepare for it. I book readings at times when I know that I'm ready and I'll be fine to give my all to that reading, you know. And so that is why I charge, because it takes time out of my day. It takes energy to do that reading. Plus, I've also paid for lots of training over the years to develop my mediumship.
That's it.
As I say, you pay for people to come and mend your taps. So really, there's no difference. It's a skill, it's an art, it's a craft, just like being a plumber is. So if you want mediumship for free, then you should also expect plumbing for free. and I don't think the plumbers do it for free.
No,
You know,
that's it.
So
I think
there's a
I saw
I
a
think-
shadow behind you
oh really?
at
There's a misconception.
about
It'll be one of my guys.
34:30.
It'll be one of my guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a misconception. I think part of the reason why people often ask, "Do you charge for your gifts?" is because it's spiritual, and people have this misconception about money, in the sense that if you're charging, where is the spirit there? Well, as I've already said, I give loads of free readings away. You know,
Yeah,
I do stuff for free. You know, I always have done. But we have to remember too, as well, that money is also energy. Money doesn't really exist; it's just a physical thing. You know so money itself is an energy as well. So, yeah, when you're meant to have these one-to-one readings, you will have that money there to get it. If you're not meant to have a one-to-one reading, you won't have that money to get it. And that's nothing to do with me. That's to do with just the energy and the karma that's been created to have it. So I don't charge huge exorbitant amounts for my readings and everything.
I think it's like some in the US. It's like £100 to £200, isn't it? It's, you know, for
There can be some really crazy prices.
yeah.
I charge. I think I'm quite fair with my charging. I certainly don't overprice. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but I feel as well another good reason though for charging is because I think it also means that the person that's getting the reading takes it more seriously as well.
Yeah.
Because if it's just for free, it's like, oh, whatever, it's just for free.
Yeah.
And you might not even show up. And I'm already doing that to do their reading, and they don't even show. Or they'll be there in the camera, you know, they'll be moving everywhere. They won't be sat ready for it because they bought it. And so I believe actually that is another plus point for it as well, because if you want a reading, I want to know that you're serious about having a reading, you know, and charging an amount just makes it that bit more serious, you know.
Yeah, but it does take up so much of your time, you know, it really does.
Yeah.
You know, just the preparation as well as you've got to get ready for it. You've got to switch your laptop on or your device, make sure it's charged, and you know,
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Time you're not spent doing other things.
Yeah.
It's the same as, you know, this is my notorious one for mediumship, was that, you know, I've seen people that expect that you're like a phone book, and it's like, can I speak to my gran or my papa or my husband or my cat or my dog, and you're just like, that's not how it works.
No.
But Sam, can I ask you, right?
Yeah.
What, as a medium, right, when you look at other mediums, what is your bugbearer?
Oh, nice.
I think one of my bugbear is almost like starting with illnesses, to be honest. Okay. What's a little bugbear? It's a traditional form of mediumship, really. It's a traditional form that was taught where a lot of mediums often talk about illnesses. And for me, I just don't get why our loved ones want to talk about how they died. You know, why would they want to talk about one of the most upsetting aspects of their life when they have all the beautiful memories of holidays, of gifts, of homes, of houses, of interests, of hobbies, of friends, of pets, and the list can go on and on and on and on. And also as well, I expect very few of these mediums are actually trained doctors. So what on earth are they listing all these illnesses when they're not even doctors or anything? So surely you would want to, if you're a medium and you've done a medical degree, go for it. Go into those illnesses and go into tell me about it. But if you've not done that, then a lot of mediumship works on our life experience. It draws from that, you know. 90% of the mediums I expect haven't done medical degrees. So why is 90% of their readings filled with medical illnesses, you know? And that's really the answer, really. To me as well, it should be healing. And for me, mediumship is about bringing that spirit into the room with you, not just for you, but for the sitter, so they feel them there. And those memories are those spirits are really going to be brought there when you talk about what that person was like, what their interests were, what house they lived in, what car they drove, what hobbies they had, pets and everything, and holidays and things like this, you see, you know. that's what's really going to bring that spirit there. And I call it compassionate mediumship. That's what I call it, because it's taking the whole person into account. It's not just taking about how they died. Now, I do give details occasionally of if the passing was particularly bad, but I'll never say how it happened because I faint with blood, right? So I don't want to see any details because it'll make me faint, right? So I've already got from the beginning of working with my guides, it's like I don't want to see anything gory. If anything really, really bad happened, just tell me something really bad happened and I'll know that I have to say, listen, I know that the passing was really difficult, you know. They're just telling me that they'll tell me whatever they need to tell me about that. I won't actually say what it was because in reality, I don't really need to, you know. The minute you go, this person passed, really, it was really horrific, actually. I'm feeling it was a really tragic accident, something happened here. Then that is when there's just a knowing between you and the sitter, you know. You and the person you're giving the reading for, there's this knowing, this deep knowing, and you don't need to say that necessarily, you know.
Yeah. No, that you know, I went to a spiritualist church. It's like, you know, 10. Thanks, Andy. I come up with bright ideas sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. I went to a spiritualist church just like 10 minutes up the road from me, and I was quite skeptical at first because I was like, you know, studying. I wasn't even caring about mind readings. I was more studying like the people I was watching, and one guy just blew my mind. And when he came in, obviously had somebody helping him in, and he was blind. And I know this is quite. You sit there and you think to yourself, how the hell can he like do mediumship blind, right? But this guy just totally blew my mind, and his sense of humor was so funny, and the things that he told me that night. You know, like I was the very first person that he came to. He would like just like run his hand and then he would stop and he'd just like point and he says, if I'm pointing at you, tell me. And the things he was telling me, Sam, you know, he's never met me before for Adam, and I was quite taken aback. And I must admit, for a spiritualist church, going to one, he really did blow my mind.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting, the fact that it was blind though, you see, because actually our sight is a huge like barrier to us connecting to spirit. It's all about us not seeing our physical, you know. So the very fact that if you're blind, you've got that all of that distraction is reduced. So I'm not surprised that I bet he had a wonderful connection to spirit. And in part due to him being blind, I expect. You know?
It was mind blowing. It really, really was mind blowing because I have seen, as I said in this church when I used to go, you know, I seen one lady and it was almost like she was cold reading. It was though she was hinting in a roundabout way, and she just done my head in that night because you could just see it was pure cold reading, and it was like, what the hell?
Yeah, definitely.
Hiya, Cal.
Van sort of says she doesn't agree with medium ask for stars before giving a reading, and she did in fact share something, and this guy was just asking for loads and loads of stars. It just says, "Oh, send stars, send stars." Well, a lot of that's going to Facebook anyway, and then I think he'd only do readings for people with stars, and he was doing a raffle with stars. So I wanted people to send stars to get tickets, but the thing is, most of the stars actually go to Facebook.
Yeah, what I do, the way I work with my star, everyone has their own way and is welcome to work with it their own way. But the way I work is I do single cards for free. And then if people do send me stars, obviously I want to reference that somehow.
Yeah, that's right.
If they send me some stars, I give them a few more cards, you know.
Yeah.
That's how I deal with it. But
he was like selling tickets so somebody could do a reading on Christmas Day. So he's saying, send all these stars, so he pulls the name out. And the more stars you get, the more tickets you get. And it's shocking, you know. Oh dear. There is.
That even goes as far as the paranormal investigators, the ones that
Oh.
say send stars. If you send stars, you get to see like premium and you're like that.
Yeah.
If you send stars, we'll say your name on the live.
It's like,
But,
do you know what? I'd never really understand the stars, but my sense of humour would just buy a packet of gold stars and send them around the post. There you go, there's your stars. You wanted stars, there you go.
No, I always do the one card for free, and then, as I say, if they send stars, then they get a few more cards or whatever, depending on the stars.
Yeah, that's it.
Because obviously, you want to reflect the fact that they've sent some, So it's a balance. It's a balance. How I do. I think it's fair.
Yeah, but all this guy was doing, I think it will get closer to who it is soon, but it'll just like delete the lives as well. So I was just shocked, Von was, so she sent it me.
Yeah,
I've got no idea who you've got. It's a total
I was absolutely shocked about that.
What I kind of do is my take on all of it is I do what I do, and people can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, that's right. It's like
I don't really do drama on what I do, and part of the reason how I do that is the only time I ever talk to people, and it's usually private in Messenger, not out there on Facebook.
That's it. It's different, isn't it?
Between me and you is what's happened, If someone's telling me something that someone else has said, I'm really not interested unless they tell me themselves, and that's how I kind of deal with it, and that's how I kind of keep calmness with everything. Because of the medium, you can't get into that drama. It's not our job to get into that.
No, that's it. There is too much drama around, isn't there?
Let them do what they want to do over there.
Carl had a good reading. So he had a reading in Whitby. Said should have his spine looked at. Become a problem 6 weeks after the doctor said he needed an operation.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So
wow.
It is. You can get some really good messages, can't you? And have had brilliant messages. I think you've given us a reading before, which is spot on as well. When you've given it on a free live and stuff.
Yeah.
Hi,
Carol.
It's amazing. Francesca, I'm sorry, I'm rubbish at pronunciation.
Okay.
I do also believe that spirit would appreciate better to be remembered for the lovely and fun things they did in life and not remembered how they passed. Which is, it is the one, isn't it, really? Because that's what we all remember, isn't it? Remember the good times.
That's right, yeah.
But there was a question about using a Ouija board. Here we go. This is from Nikki Lovett. What's your opinion on doing a spirit board at home? So
my personal opinion on it, obviously everyone's free to do whatever they want, is if you're not careful, I would say actually I'd even go beyond spirit boards to divination in general, actually, to pendulums, to rods and everything like that. What we have to be careful of is that these spirit boards and types of divination, if you're not careful, can become almost like a crutch for you, that you end up asking lots of questions about what about this, what about that, what about this, what about that, when in fact really the answers in your heart. And so these, if you're not careful, these sort of spirit boards can almost become like an addiction, I would say. If you're not careful, it can become like this thing that you always go to. So for me, having those personal boundaries of not doing them at home isn't out of anything evil or anything like that. But it's more to do with like boundaries of like, this is how we work here. And I think it's to do with that really. So I would say people are welcome to use them wherever. I'd just be aware of the boundaries. How often are you using them? And with what intention are you using them? It's very important. I would say keep that intention from the light and you in the love and the light and you'll be fine. But be careful what you ask for. I would say, quite seriously, be careful what you ask for, because what we ask for, even if it doesn't exist on the spiritual plane, things can appear in our mind and be created by our thoughts and all that. I would say use with caution, use with respect, have someone around maybe that knows how to use one with you. And if you are using them at home, be very aware how often you're using it at home, you know. It's like, for example, if in your house you say you can only smoke if you smoke outside, then all of a sudden you go, actually, you can smoke inside as well now. So you just start smoking all the time because there's nowhere that you can't smoke. It's like the same with the Ouija board. Perhaps you're best just using on investigations rather than just at your home every day, because it creates that barrier and that boundary of practice, if you know what I mean.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
You've also got to be able to deal with what comes through.
Yeah.
Now, you know, if you do paranormal a lot, you can sometimes get like things following you around. And, you know, it does happen. You should technically ground and protect yourself, I think. But I don't always practice that.
Always use protection, I would say. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how would you go into protection, though? What do you do?
What I imagine is a white light coming down through the top of my head. It goes all the way through my body, fills my body with a beautiful white light, goes right through the bottom of my soles of my feet, right down to the core of the earth, wraps itself around the core of the earth, comes back up through the soles of my feet, right through my body, right through the top of my head like a fountain. It creates a ball of white light.
Yeah.
And then that's like, it can actually be done in seconds. It sounds quite involved explaining it like that, but it really isn't. It's just down with the light, back up with the light, and out and around, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I was taught to do roots from my feet and then do the white light, and then the two sort of, the white light just goes down, gets bright, and then goes. And then there's like a light shooting from the heart up and down, and basically that was it. And it just takes seconds, doesn't it?
To be honest, protection is a very personal thing. I've actually got a podcast called Mediumship Reflections.
Oh, wow.
And on that, I talk about protection, actually. There's an episode that talks about spiritual protection, because it's an interesting subject. It's a very personal subject, as I would say. Whatever you need to do to feel safe, do that. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. In some ways, protection is a little bit like those, like the sugar pills that they do on medical trials, where, what's the name of it?
It's gone. Placebo.
Placebo, almost. Protection is, in a way, a little bit like a placebo, because you have the protection that you believe you have. Okay? So if you believe that you can walk into any building and be protected, then you will be able to walk into every building and be spiritually protected. But if you believe that you need a crystal with you for protection or anything like that, then take it. If that helps you with your protection, take it, you know. Don't let anyone judge you on it or feel you need to be a particular way. Just do what you need to do to make you feel safe in that sense, you know.
That's it.
And you will find it'll change over time what you need in terms of protection. It won't stay the same. You might feel it'll always stay like that, but it actually won't. Over the years, as you develop spiritually and with your knowledge and your practice and all that, you will find that what you need for your protection will move and change and develop as well, you know.
Yeah, that's it. So when you did the paranormal sort of investigations, was it all mediumship, or did you ever take any other tools with you?
I was with the teams that had all the tools and everything like that. Yeah. But back in like 10 years ago or so, they didn't really have the people, the what do you call them, the great cameras with the stick on SLS. They didn't really have a lot of them in my early days, but I think they are a fantastic piece of equipment. So I believe there's a room for equipment and mediums and investigation. And I believe the mediums, it's not the medium's job to stand up and go, oh, I'm getting this and I'm getting that. It's more job to go, there's something over there. Can you find it with any equipment? And I'm getting that it's this woman. Let's try and connect with that. And then you can get a joining of, you know, move the cameras over there. Can you sense anything? Can you see figures in it? You know, where you get this real joining of skills, you know. And that's what I believe. There's a real room for both on an investigation.
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
the times that you see these paranormal investigators going on without a medium, and they're just like little lost school children. They've got, because what a medium can bring to investigation is in an instant a depth of information, right? So I can go into a building and go, right, I'm getting a man, he's wearing old trousers, he's wearing a shirt, he was clearly someone that loved this building, actually clearly fixed up this building. And within 20 seconds, you've got a lot of information about a man. Now, to get that information out using flashing lights, 2 for yes, 1 for no, would take half an hour to find that same information out.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is let the medium get that connection with that spirit and then use those equipments and people that aren't mediums to get more information out, to just get more depth even, you know? So you get a balance of initial connection with medium, bringing them forward, so we know where they are and where in the building to investigate, because some buildings are vast, some buildings are absolutely huge. So when you're faced with the likes of the Liverpool,
that's Asylum, Newsham Park.
Yeah, when you're faced with Newsham Park, I've been to before, fantastic place.
Yeah,
it's vast there. So when you're faced with a place like that, if you don't have a medium with you, how are you going to ever find the right place to be almost? You know what I mean? Without clambering all the stairs, doing sweeps, doing this, doing that, having fixed cameras, da-da-da-da-da-da. And a medium can just go, top corridor, that's going to be active tonight, top corridor tonight, you know? And instantly you go there and you do it. So that's how the best way. And also as well, in an investigation as well, when things move to different places. So we might start on the top corridor, but then suddenly it might be like, we have to go down to the basement. We have to go down now. And you won't know why as a medium, but it's not our job to know why. We just sense things, you know? And so that's why it can be a huge advantage to have that medium there. Hi, Gary.
Hi, yeah. Gary's awesome medium as well. Yeah.
I really believe in the technology and the medium working alongside each other. I really am.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
does
about
work.
Understanding the technology, I think, a bit as well. So you know how to use that within that and not take over everything. So you let the guests discover at the same time too. But it's a balance of getting that connection and getting them to come forward to then find more, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Carl sort of, I know with boards have seen many push and they said they've not, and then the spirits coming through with dates and names, many could not read or write. And that's the thing about the boards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
we're trying to use the board the other day and it's like, well, everyone, like, was that Derby Jail? And everybody assumes, like, they're going to pick up the history of a jail.
Yeah.
And I sort of said, well, it could be modern, it could be the nightclub. You know, and then all of a sudden people are thinking differently because they're just expecting to pick up from the jail. But no, there's just more to it than that, isn't there?
There's the layers and layers of history,
Yeah. So Andy agrees, did an investigation. The woman we connected with said she had 23 children.
Yeah.
We thought she might have been a school teacher. But Andy's thinking about out of the box there. And, you know, because everyone would go, oh, no, that's rubbish. But yeah, I like that, Andy, because you are sort of thinking more sort of, hi, Charles.
Hiya.
Charles, thanks from Texas, so thanks for joining us.
Excellent.
But it is lovely though, isn't it? When you get the spiritual connection, when you get anything sort of on an event, really.
That really is, yeah. Especially when
stories.
That thing you connect to starts to create activity as well. You know, when you realise that connection with that spirit actually responds to you, and you get stuff going on, it's like, wow, you know, it is amazing. Yeah.
So, is there anywhere in the US you would like to go?
Quite a lot of places, really. Quite a lot. Some of those big places. I would like to. I don't know. There's loads and loads, really. I'm trying to tell you what. One place is I would really like to go, and that is the Winchester Mansion. Now, I'm not a gun fan at all, but that building just intrigues me. You know, the Winchester Mystery House.
Right.
You know that one?
Yeah.
It looks a huge, very interesting place. the fact that it was built on by what she got from a table, from her seances and stuff like this. It just seems a really intriguing place to me to go.
Wow.
The Winchester Mystery House, yeah, definitely. That's
Well, the husband had the Winchester.
Is someone talking to you there?
yeah. Francesco's just talking to me.
Oh, that's fine then.
Yeah, leave it there.
Not Spirit this time, though.
No, that is where Spirit often appears to me, though. Around here. No, definitely, the Winchester House is definitely one place that's an interesting place. But there's loads of those big jails and stuff like that.
Gosh,
really interesting, and
yeah.
yeah.
It just does, that there are some brilliant places, and like anywhere they've got amazing debunked.
Yeah, debunked. Yeah.
I was so excited there, and I thought, oh my god, we're having a conversation here. But yeah.
No, that's definitely one place that would be very interesting to go visit. And loads of other different places. I think some of these big jails, they just look like they've got so much atmosphere and stuff like that,
Yeah, and it's a complete desperation, isn't it, of the people who were serving time there? And you sort of look at places like Alcatraz, like you're stuck on an island, and like what's going to happen?
I know.
It's just, oh god.
And part of it as well is being in these like quite famous places. Really, it is quite amazing to be in those places investigating. Would be amazing, But as I say, like we have layers and layers of history. Though the interesting thing with America, though, is the layers. There are far less layers to delve into in that sense, almost, Whereas in this country we do have like far more layers in that sense. So it's quite interesting. How when we delve back in our layers in this country, it's a different kettle of fish to America. But I get America. I'd love to go over to America and investigate. Definitely.
Yeah, that's it's a beautiful place. I just bring Lewis back on.
Yeah.
Issues.
What happened was I went for my phone charger. I dropped my phone on the laptop and I thought it was going to blow up. It made this like really, honestly, Sam, my laptop's on its way. It's got this green line right across.
Oh gosh.
And as soon as I dropped my phone, I went, "Oh my god, you're gonna come back on." But it has touched hairy wood. To be fair, my laptop's got about 6 years old, so I've had a good 6 years with it. I can't complain.
Yeah. We just had a mystery voice, but it was debunked.
It was Francesco,
we're just talking about places in the US which Sam fancied. You mentioned Winchester.
Aye. America's got so much. I mean, everybody says how lucky I am in Scotland, but no, really. And no, compared to the Americans. I mean, they have... Thanks, Andy. It's like America has so much. And hi, Vonnie. I don't see it just like America for like paranormal. I see like America for different things, like their weather, especially. Like I'm quite a, storm chaser, so I really love to chase the storms out there.
But also, America's quite interesting connecting to mediumship, because the mediumship in England is quite a different take from American mediumship. So in America, people are far more open to, like, you'd call them soul readings and stuff, where people connect to the guides more. But in this country, people tend to just want, like, the families that are passed, not everyone does, but there's far more people in America, there are these new sort of, like, not new readings, but different sides of a reading where you connect to almost like a soul reading for a person. You connect to their spiritual journey, their path, their guides, and these are these different types of. I can do these types of readings, but I just don't do them very much. And the reason why I don't do them very much is because I'm based probably in the UK, and it's far more common in the US. Those are. It's quite interesting,
Yeah, I never thought about any differences. I never realised.
Yeah, I think they are more open to this side of, like, mediumship, that people aren't quite as open to that in the UK, but it is there.
It's the same as the there's a lot of things that, you know, the Americans are quite open to, and
Mm.
I do agree. Paranormal. Hiya, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Paranormal and mediumship being one of them. They're definitely, because there's a lot of people like you speak about mediumship and they kind of just give you that look. Some get dead excited and other people are just, oh, not quite sure how to answer.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's it. They are getting more open in the UK though. Like, you know, from when I first started doing paranormal, and it's a bit weird, but most haunted like brought it out, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
But
Yeah.
for me to actually do it 2004, okay, events, but people kind of thought it was weird what I did then. But now,
Yeah.
you know, at work you still kind of mention it like, oh, what you doing? Like, oh yeah, I do this. You know, you don't kind of mention how often you do it at first. But then when they get to know you, sort of more
Yeah.
open about it.
I think the more people can be just more open about it, the better, really, because in reality, even though we kind of get these responses like, oh, that's a little bit, I think it's almost like our job doing what we do to dispel those like lack of knowledge and that lack of, that lack of awareness almost. So it's our job to kind of go, we do this, and actually it's not as weird as you might think, actually, I think it's part of our job almost a little bit,
Yeah, that's it. I've got a good question here from Justin Clifford then, from SOS Paranormal. Hope you're well.
Yeah,
So,
just,
so what's your thoughts on the following? As beings, we could be capable of telepathy. What if we're just reading people telepathically from the thoughts when we're in connection with them?
So it's an interesting thought about the whole telepathy. But I actually believe that we are actually, whether we like it or not, we're psychically connected to far more people than we believe actually and realize,
Yeah.
because we all are energy. And so our energies are intrinsically connected almost, And so, first of all, I would say we've got these psychic connections that could then result in telepathy, if you like. And so, in terms of like so from that telepathy or psychic connection, if you like, are we reading people? Well, in actual fact, I kind of believe that because to me, my take on psychic and mediumship is I believe the term mediumship almost becomes a barrier to connecting to spirit. Because actually, I personally believe I psychically connect to spirits that have passed. To me, there's no difference from me psychically connecting to you as a living being as to a spirit. Okay, the only difference is you've got a body, but that doesn't even actually exist because you can only sense that in your mind, which is a non-physical thing. So to me, the whole concept of that is almost like intrinsically flawed by the concept of medium and psychic and telepathy. It is actually just all one. And the more we blend that together, so when we're connecting with someone, we're not, you say, are we just reading people telepathically? Well, of course, we're reading with that person's energy. We're blending with our sitter's energy. But by blending with our sitter's energy, we're actually crossing the karmic energetic bridge with that person and the loved one they want to connect to. That then allows us to cross from their energy to the energy of the loved one that comes in. So the reason why these spirits come in is because there is a karmic connection, a karmic energetic link between me, the medium, and eventually the spirit that comes forward. Now, that spirit doesn't just come to me. That spirit actually comes to the sitter that then comes to me. I go to the spirit, if you like, but the spirit comes to me, if that makes sense, because it always comes from the spirit. I hope I haven't confused you, but it's
I heard a lady's voice.
It's all to do with we all have an energetic fingerprint, if you like, that is us. But in reality, your energetic fingerprint already exists in the future and it already exists in the past. Because even though you're experiencing the present as a living being, actually you will eventually die and become spirit. But in actual fact, you've kind of already died, if that makes sense, because time doesn't exist in spirit. So the very nature of this whole karmic connection thing is really, really interesting. And just perhaps, well, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye, really. So we're blending our fingerprint with our sitter's fingerprint, and our sitter's fingerprint blended with their loved one's fingerprint that allows us to connect to their loved one's fingerprint through that person's fingerprint. Are you with me? So what happens is you get this energetic connections, but it's all through connections. The only reason I can bring so many of these people is if there's like a karmic connection. It's just like when you go into paranormal investigations, why do you get the caretaker that comes in? Well, because his fingerprint is in that building. Are you with me? His energetic fingerprint is in that building. He's not trapped to that building. He's not attacked. He's not attached, and he can't leave that building. He can be everywhere simultaneously. He's a spirit. So, but his energetic fingerprint is within it. Are you with me? Yeah. So that's why we sense those spirits in that area. It's not to do with the trapped. They're not trapped at all. But their energy is in there. Just like, so when you have a sitter that comes along and you pick up a lady that comes in and you've got that connection and stuff like that. But people will say, well, how do you get my great grandmother that I never met? Well, the karmic connection is through your mother. So their energy blended with your mother that blended with you. And that's the karmic connection almost. Do you really? So that's how you can get people that maybe go generations back that you might think, where is that connection? And it only takes having a watch from a person and their whole energy has blended. This is the other thing. So you inherit your great granddad's watch. You never met him before, and you inherit your great granddad's watch, for example. Even though you would look at that and think, well, it's only his watch, it's not him. Energy isn't reliant on space or shape of anything. When someone's energy is on something, their whole energy is on it. You with me? So when you've got your granddad's watch, you've got your whole granddad's in the sense of all his memories, all of his life, all of his memories, all of his hobbies, everything that he, it's all in there. It's not just a little thing about him, it's everything. And this is a really interesting aspect of energy, the very nature of energy. You can't just have a bit of it. You either have it all or nothing. Are you with me? So it only takes having a watch from someone and you've got that full karmic connection. And I call it a karmic connection because the world we experience is our karma that we experience. So karma doesn't judge. Karma is just cause and effect. If you want a cup of tea, you have to get a mug, fill it with water and a tea bag, then you'll have a cup of tea. You created the causes to have a cup of tea by getting a mug and all that, So it's that thought process, that karmic connection. So you'll realize that in our life we make many decisions about everything, about loads of little things throughout the day. We make hundreds of decisions every day. Every one of those decisions is a cause to create an effect. And there we have our life in front of us, if you like.
So it's basically just like the butterfly effect, really, in essence.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I mean, I love the whole subject of telekinesis because I believe that, like, small things, like somebody you've never thought of for years, and then suddenly they pop into your dream. Then you go maybe out into the street or into the city centre. You see that person, you know, and I've had a lot of things that have happened over the years, and I've just been mind blown with the fact that person's come into my head, and then suddenly out the blue I just see them, and I think, wow, how is that even possible?
So I believe as well that's exactly what I was talking about, how the fact that we've not really explored the concept really a lot in terms of who we are as a soul, and the very fact that what made that pop into your head could be almost like yourself in the future that came and told you that you were going to be seeing them, or you see what I mean? It's even your friend, even though they haven't passed, in their life where they have passed over come almost back. There's so many things to explore and possibilities in that sense, but we can't almost comprehend it because we're so attached to our physical. It's like, how can that be possible? It's like, but the only thing that will make it not possible is how hard you grasp onto your physical body. You know, it's really interesting.
Yeah, but I've had a reading like from Barry John, and he told me about things happening in the future. And the only way I realised was that if it's come from her mum, who was actually coming through that time, then obviously she can travel to then come back to tell me. You know, and it is there, and like you know,
it's really interesting, is what it is.
Yeah, okay, we're in this time, you know. Into a parallel universe. There's something else happening around us. It's just mad, isn't it? Once you start thinking of different concepts and ideas.
Yeah, I think as well on that whole parallel universe thing.
Well,
again, it's trying to get away from anything parallel, because for something to be parallel, it has to be parallel against something that exists. So essentially, kind of, I'm not saying that nothing exists, but in reality, it's like the consciousness exists almost, you know, and that is the best way of putting it. That, you know, everything is like that consciousness, you know, it's a non-physical, that's no different from spirit, you know. It's very interesting, really interesting.
Yeah, I like Justin's side. There's something trying to talk through us again.
I heard that as well, yeah.
If you want to talk, you can talk to us. It's fine. We did 10 minutes after last time, and there's something trying to join in with us, I think, again.
I know, it's really interesting. It happens to me more than what you think, Andy. It really actually does. It creeps me out when it happens. It really does. I think it was years ago. I had met this guy, and wasn't my type. Quite honest with that, but it's like, as you call it, telekinesis, that I would end up kissing him, and somehow it happened, and it was just like, it's things like that. It's absolutely, as I say, it's wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I like good deep discussions about all of this and everything. It is really interesting.
It is interesting.
It really is.
Yeah,
that and past life.
It's better than just looking out the window and saying, "Oh, it's raining today. Better get the washing in."
Do you know what? I find it difficult to have a normal conversation with a human now. Like, see, like my partner and my sister, I find it awkward talking to them, but I can talk to people about the paranormal until it can go by years, you know, and past life. It's funny. It's mind blowing, Andy. It totally is. I totally agree with you.
It is,
yeah. Some of the conversations you go down, and when you tell people who haven't done paranormal your stories, and it is mad, but the people around you experienced it as well. But you can go into a paranormal circle and you can say, "Oh, I had this happen to me." They go, "Yeah." Like, somebody told me something the other day, and like they had something random happen to them. I think they saw something actually physically go through a wall, and yeah, I believe you. You know, they were credible people, and you can't say it's not happened, because I've had so many weird experiences.
That's right. Yeah,
it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the other funny side to the whole paranormal and seeing apparitions and everything like that is, I think sometimes people see half of them and don't even realize they've seen them, because the true reality is when you see a full apparition, it isn't scary. It's only when you realize afterwards what you actually saw. Or you go to a person and say, "Oh, that woman that I spoke to in the courtyard, she's really nice." It's like, there is no woman here. But at the time, it's not scary because it's so real. And I really love that aspect of it. So on that basis, you've got to think there'll be loads of paranormal sightings that no one will ever even realize are paranormal, because they'll just take them as a person walking down the street. You know, I think it's really,
Yeah, it's like fun, it's mind blowing, but also I think we have to think outside the box, not follow the sheep. And there are credible people out there. That's true.
Yeah.
I kind of want to laugh at Justin, but I don't know if he's been funny or not, so I'm trying to be sensitive. Because it kind of reminds me
got
of
to
that
answer
advert
now.
for it, Orange.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, if we want to get deep about this, the future doesn't exist just as much as the present, because it's all a time-based thing. You know, the past, the present, and the future is a time-based thing. So actually, the future doesn't actually exist. Sorry to disappoint, but when you think about it on that level, it actually doesn't really exist.
I thought that, Mr. Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Future's orange, yeah.
It's the same as people, right, going about heaven, hell, and all that. It's bloody made up. It's a parallel universe. I hate to tell everybody, but you know, it's the same as when people argue what shape the Earth is. I would laugh if it turned out to be square or or triangle or rectangle or something different. You know, it's.
So I don't believe in hell or even demons and stuff like that, because they're all man-made concepts and stuff to create. I believe they're there to initiate control. If you look at the history of them, let's be really logical here. A lot of these things have a starting point, and if they have a starting point, that means they're man-made. And if they're man-made, they're not spirit really. They're often there to create fear in people and then to create control and manipulation. Of course, people are welcome to believe in the devil, and as if there's people that study it and everything like that, and that's cool. Do whatever you need to do. But personally, I don't feel it actually exists. You know, I believe spirit is one, and the balance to spirit is the physical. So people talk about the yin and the yang. What's the balance to spirit then? And the spirit is the physical. And so that is the balance to spirit. There is only one spirit of love and light and inspiration, you know. All of the dark things that people experience, I personally believe they come from a human source of a lack of education, a lack of knowledge, a lack of knowing, or even a wrong label, you know. I believe that they come from people being vulnerable and not being in a good place at that time too. And so this is why it's so important on any investigation to take account of what is going on with that person's life as well, you know. And you just can't go in and go, so you're getting this and you're getting this, let's just treat that. Because that's just like putting a sticking plaster on it, does nothing. What you need to treat is the people in that place, what is happening with them on a deep level, and do they need some light shining into their life to lift them up from where they are. And that's my personal. I do believe people have experiences and have scary, dark experiences and stuff like this, but I don't believe the source of that is spirit. I believe the source is from a human source. Okay, that's my belief, because we don't know the potential of our mind. Remember, and because we don't know the potential of our mind, we don't know its ability to create things that appear paranormal on occasion. Okay, just because that it appears paranormal doesn't mean it's spirit. That's the thing. It doesn't mean it's just spirit. It means it's appearing as a paranormal phenomena, and a very interesting phenomena at that. But let's dig deep. What's really going on? You know, that's my kind of take on it. You know, I believe there's a spirit source of love and light, and I believe there's a human source that essentially comes all the way back to fear, and the fear of death, even of immortality, of all that. Because when you go right back to when you're thinking about these things that are potentially threatening your life, what are you thinking about at that point? You're thinking about your life being threatened, your immortality, right? And that's kind of a bit of the key to it. Anyway, it's just one of the things I've been working with for a while. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
I think it gives people almost more confidence in spirit to know that actually spirit is one of love and light, because that's been my experience. You know? I have experienced dark forces. So people go, well, you haven't, I bet you've not experienced it. Well, that's false. I have. And in my early days, when I got not as experienced, basically, I did experience dark things. I was really afraid, you know. But I look back now and I realize that fear came from a lack of knowledge and a lack of the true grasping of what spirit's about, you know. But anyway, it's only my opinion. It's only my opinion. People are welcome.
No, that's good.
Like, no one's allowed opinions, obviously. Like, as I said, even though demonology, fascinates me, I think in the reality paranormal, it's very far few between. Not the way that Mr. Baggins likes to paint that every show's a demon show, you know. It's very far few in between.
Yeah.
I've still had those experiences where I've been spooked at venues. That I have to say, I do love getting spooked at venues. Actually, it gives you a bit of a high. And what that is happening going on there is really you go into a room that someone really loved all their life, and they kind of like get out. It's nothing dangerous or evil or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're just kind of getting you out of their space. And to be honest, I really love that feeling of being spooked. It's like, okay, I'm going, see you. I mean, it's not because it's dark or evil. It's not because it's dark or evil. It's because they're going, get out. I don't want you here. Get out. Stop investigating. I'm trying to just relax in my house. Thank you. Get out, you know. So I have had a few occasions of being spooked, you know. But that's what I feel is the source of that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, Van says like demonology, cultology, interesting subjects. It's looking at the ancient side of things as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
so really sort of digging into something like totally like you look at the ancient civilizations, and I really can't believe how like you know you've got the pyramids, you've got other things like that, and it just can't get how they did it, you know. And was it aliens? Was it something else? We just don't know, do we?
No, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, really. I don't really go down those lines because I believe conspiracy theories can be quite negative against us. And so that's why I don't go down the conspiracy theories. For me, personally, I mean, we don't know what the technology was at that time.
That's right. Yeah.
So we can't really judge, really, in that sense. And when all's said and done, even though they look impossible to build, they're only impossible to build if you don't know how they built it.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, just like there's like for every flower that appears in the forest, there is one species designed to go get the nectar from it and stuff like that. Even though we don't know how all the species yet, then that doesn't mean to say there's going to be new ones discovered, you know. And that's just the same as these sightings of strange things. Why can't they just be another type of leopard that we haven't found yet? Why I don't get why it always has to be a paranormal thing sometimes. Can it not just be a new discovery of a new species, you know? So I find that really interesting, you know.
I think see if they can't name it, it's always paranormal.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like people say they see something, suddenly it becomes a cryptic or an alien, whatever tickles their fancy that day.
That's because sometimes people are so desperate to box things, you know. They're so desperate to put it in a box, and sometimes we really just shouldn't. Just leave it out of a box. So it was an interesting sighting of something. That's fine, you know. But don't call it a cryptid or whatever, you know. Even those things themselves are probably, where have those things come from anyway? Where have those labels come from anyway? Tell me the origin of this cryptid.
So human, isn't it? Yeah.
But where did that originate from, though, I'm talking about? Because we didn't suddenly start calling cryptids. Someone had to do it for the first time.
Is it TV? You don't know, do you?
Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
TV or the press, yeah.
We have to question when we call something a cryptid and stuff like this. You know, what is all that? And I'm all for, like, I do believe there's other things out there in the universe. But the universe doesn't exist. But don't forget, the universe is of our own creation almost, you know. So if we believe that there's other things out there, then we'll see other things out there. If we believe that we won't, we won't. But I mean, I know when I was younger, I did have a strange sighting of a UFO in America. I couldn't explain it. It was an unidentified flying object. What can I say? It was disc-shaped, and it was hovering. It was too high to be an air balloon, and it wasn't, you know, for all intents and purposes, a UFO. And it wasn't just me that saw it. It was three of us that saw it, you know. So it is interesting. I think there is more out there, but I'm just cautious how far all of that route I go down this whole conspiracy route, really. I kind of just let it be and know that there's more to things than meets the eye, and
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to just ask one last question then,
Yeah.
because I know we're near the end of time, and
Yeah.
I think you probably want to relax now.
It's flown. The time's flown, I tell you.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
That's just
So,
really-
Andy, then, as a medium, have you given someone a message that they refuse to take, no matter that you spot on with your message?
I have kind of had a message that it was a bit difficult for a lady to take because she didn't really get on with the person, and she was quite a feisty lady anyway. So she kind of said, "Well, I didn't really like this person." It's like, well, they're coming through for you. They're here. So I said to her, I explained to her, "Listen, you can take this message or not. It's up to you. I'm not going to force you to take the message, but just know that they are around, and actually they're quite sorry for what they did on Earth and everything." And it was more of an apology message, actually, it was, from that spirit. But even at the end of it, I said, even though I've given you the message, it's if you wish to take that message, feel free. But if you don't, that's your choice, and I understand, you know.
Oh, bless you.
It doesn't happen often. I can count them on one hand, really, hardly ever, really. But there is just occasions you get when just that relationship with that person might not have been great on Earth, you know. So if they're not ready to have that message, then it, you know, you just have to be compassionate and careful at that point with how the reading and everything, and how potentially like fragile it might be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
bless you.
yeah.
Right. So people can find you then on Sam Pirt Psychic Medium page.
Yeah, my Facebook page, Sam Pirt Psychic Medium, and also my website, sampirtpsychicmedium.com. I've got on Instagram as well, Sam Pirt Psychic Medium, and I even have a mediumship podcast called Mediumship Reflections, available on Spotify. So do check that out as well. Got lots of things going on. I got lots of lives going on my page. One tomorrow night with Bev Mann, who's a wonderful medium. Me and Bev are doing some free readings with spirit on my page, Sam Pirt Psychic Medium. And I've also got my mods annual live on Thursday. So all my mods are coming out of the shadows and going to be put on screen. And we're going to have an evening with my mods on Thursday. And I've also, I'm available for private readings. I work in churches as well and stuff. And I've also got loads of different things available as well. Just check out my Facebook page for more details and stuff.
And I do try and share onto the Paranormal Path group whenever Sam's doing anything. You also do monthly services as well, don't you?
Services as well, yeah, on the Shine Your Light spiritual group. And also I do my mentor program as well. If people are interested in learning, just get in touch if you're interested in any development or anything with me. They've got a program that I do that. So
yeah, definitely worth it. And yeah, good. Lois, any plans?
No, the rest of the week it'll just be uni working more podcasts. I'm actually starting now to do podcasts nearly every night of the week. I just need a Thursday slot, and then that's me.
All right, bless you. Okay, and next week on the show, it's Halloween. So we're gonna have a few guests. We're gonna have like a party and do some stories and just see what happens, really. So it's just going to be one of those silly shows, and yeah, because it is actually on the 31st of October, so got the great day for it. So you should have a laugh. Yeah, we're on about doing fancy dress. Got some interesting people coming on, and still, if anyone wants to come on the show, then let me know and come in. You know, fancy dress. There you go. Just come and join us and have a laugh. But good night. Thanks.
Good night, Andy.
Thank you for great chat and answers. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, spirit. Good night, Wendy. Thank you. And Von. Good luck with your course, Lois. Okay, so look after yourselves. Hi, Jeanette Bean. Look after everyone. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.